Hello and welcome to the Nuremberg Messe podcast. I'm your host, Shunakshi Chakravarti, and this is the one-stop platform where we discuss all the industry insights from the industry experts themselves. In this special podcast, we will be discussing all things related to the woodworking industry, a key sector which is said to be that one industry which is not just one of the fastest growing in India, but is also expected to take the Make in India dream reach to new global heights. And to discuss more on this, I am joined by Mr. Venkataramana Gorti here at the HOMAG office in Karnataka near Bengaluru, where we will discuss on all the trends, all the key innovations and highlights in the wood industry. Thank you, Mr. Gorti, for joining us on this podcast.
Thank you.
So for those who may not know, Mr. Gorti is somebody who has over 3 decades of experience as his body of work across multiple global organizations. He also, before he became the India head at HOMAG here in 2019, at a critical time when he had to merge two entities of HOMAG India into one single entity. Of course, his expertise is helping the India woodworking industry take to state-of-the-art technology to digitalize processes and, of course, ensure that there is more innovations and more technology that people take to in this industry. Mr. Gorti, pleasure to have you on this podcast. I want to, of course, begin by asking you about HOMAG, about the company. For those who may not know, what has been the roadmap so far?
Thank you, Sonakshi. It's a pleasure having a conversation with you. And with respect to HOMAG, as you all know, it's a global company, which is a market leader. And as you mentioned, my journey here, coming in 4 years back, I joined in June 2019. Right. It's been one of the most interesting journeys I have in my professional life. And this industry itself, which is so dynamic, it made it even more interesting. So I can definitely say that it's one of the best professional times I've had in my life.
Wonderful, Mr. Gorti. In fact, when I was looking up on HOMAG and its profile, really, the key question really I want to begin by asking is that when you entered the market 20 years ago, and if you were to look at the market now, what have been the changes? What would you attribute, or who would you attribute these changes to? If you can take us through this journey.
So 20 years is too long a time, Sonakshi, and of course, there have been innumerable changes which has happened. I'll try to cover some of the changes which either they have impacted not only the woodworking industry, but all the industries, and some of them could be very specific to our industry. To start with the first one, I think GST was a game changer for the country because it helped really the ease of businesses for everyone and also made it more formalized with respect to how we are running the economy. So I think that's one of the big things which I have seen changing. The second one in the past, maybe 5 to 10 years, is the e-commerce. I think e-commerce has really become the life for everyone. And if we look at it, the way I want to say it is, e-commerce in one single word is convenience has actually taken over from customizations. So if I look at our industry, most of the customers now seem to be more comfortable when they get onto the websites of different players in the e-commerce to go and select their furniture requirements in a home, where with the click of a button, they can actually go through the entire cycle. And I think the most important thing in this is each person feels that they designed their home. And that personalized feeling is a great thing which e-commerce is giving. And I think e-commerce is there to stay.
Right. Mr. Gorti, how is HOMAG really tackling these challenges? Now, when I speak of challenges, I am talking about the posed by the current geopolitical situation. Now, the current geopolitical situation, of course, includes several factors like a post-COVID world, a post-pandemic world that we're all witnessing. We're also looking at the Russia-Ukraine war, the ripple effects of it, not just across the world, but on India. We're also looking at several supply chains that have been affected because of this. So looking at the current geopolitical situation, how is HOMAG really looking at it, and with what perspective addressing these challenges?
So I think some of these things, what happen at the global levels, right, are beyond our controls. But as you mentioned, if we just go with the current scenario, the way we are looking at it, globally, there is definitely a slowdown which is happening, driven by multiple reasons. One of them is the higher inflations which is happening. The second one, which is, I think, impacting the world in big or a smaller way, depending on where you are positioned, is the Russia-Ukraine war.
Right.
Last 18 to 24 months, there were a lot of supply chain issues,
Right.
starting from the electronic component shortages, and then it started impacting all industries. As it started settling down, the Russia-Ukraine war started coming in, where you started having challenges with respect to the raw materials, with respect to so many other stuff. As a group at HOMAG, we are generally prepared for what happens externally, and then we start trying to work internally. So we could, I would say, pretty well manage all these challenges, with the teams really coming up to this, taking these challenges in a very positive way. So I would say supply chain has stabilized, but with respect to the current scenarios in the global market, I think China has still not come out from the post-COVID thing, and
Right.
it will impact the world. Europe is struggling, especially Germany and other countries, and United States, after their banking struggles, is struggling. So when the top three economies in the world are struggling, of course, there is an impact which everybody is feeling. But I think, as a proud Indian, I can say India is one of the brightest spots where we are consistently growing as a country, as well as in our industry. If we look at our industry, there's a very good steady demand which we are seeing. And I think Indians are resilient. So what they have seen in this scenario is, how do they actually cash on to this opportunity with respect to growing businesses. So in my interactions with many of the customers, what I have seen is they've started exploring exports as one option. They are trying to see how do they become global players. And as HOMAG India, what we have tried to do in this scenario is, how do we utilize this opportunity with respect to getting our product strategies right? How do we get into the group's policy to be the one of the most cost competitive entities in the world? How do we become the global supply chain hub? So I would say we have used this scenarios more as an opportunity, and as a group and as a team in India, I think we are on the right track, Sonakshi.
I would just like to extend this question, since you mentioned that Indians, we are resilient people, and that is very true to our characters as Indians. In fact, looking at the global recession trends, how would you project, and how would you really see the situation currently for HOMAG and big players like HOMAG, looking at the global recession trends?
I think where we stand out as compared to the competition is the kind of value propositions which we give to the customers. I think there is a slowdown, but with respect to what we offer to the customers, we are very confident that the market share still will be there for us. So that's something which helps us to continuously keep innovating, continuously working on new strategies. So for us, I think if the market shrinks, the market share will not shrink for us. That we are working on, and we are very sure it will happen.
Right. My next question, Mr. Gorti, is how do you position yourself in the market?
In terms of at a global level, we are like 32 to 35% market share we have. And I can tell proudly that in India, for the mid segment and the high end segment, we have more than 50% of the market. 50%, 50. Okay. And it's been there consistently for us. And as I mentioned, where we stand apart from the competition is we give end-to-end solutions, right from helping a customer to set up a factory through our consulting, to choice of the right machines with respect to how they can be profitable, how they can grow the business. And we also help them with a lot of business enablers and digital products, which helps them to run the business efficiently, and the growth, what they're envisaging, is very easy for them to do with this end-to-end solution. So from our side, we believe that we can give solutions to the customers of different sizes for them to keep growing in the market.
Which brings me to my next question. Now, Mr. Gorti, what is the scope for the Indian furniture industry? If you can elaborate a little bit on that.
So Sonakshi, you might be surprised because these numbers are mind-boggling. The furniture industry in India is like 23 billion as of last year. And this is one industry where it's projected that will grow with a CAGR of almost close to 11% for the next 5 years. So the opportunities are immense. And also the other thing which we can see is, if you take the Indian industry, the rough numbers which they say is like about 100,000. We have woodworking units, like 200,000 artisans are there. But if you ask me personally, this number could be far, far higher. But because we are so unorganized, we don't know that. So wood and the panel processing in India is something which is going to grow, and it will grow. Some of the key levers which are driving this is, as you mentioned some time back, the Make India is really, really pushing a lot of new investments coming in. We also have realized, and we can see that the per capita income is going up, which means that the ability to spend on the furnitures is going up. The other one which is clearly seen is the rising urbanization, what is happening. The nuclear families is a reality. People are moving more and more towards the cities, and this starts pushing up big way the rentals and the related furnitures, everything going up. The other one which we can see is the rising tourism and hospitality industry, which is growing exponentially if you take away the COVID period, and that's where the industry will go further. The other one which we are really seeing is the office spaces requirement is growing big, with more and more global companies coming into India, newer educational institutes coming in. So if you see overall, I think the CAGR of 10.5 to 11% is probably still, I would say, more pessimistic. It can grow even further.
Wow. So you certainly sound very optimistic, Mr. Gorti. So then I would also like to ask you, since you have become the top boss, you have become the India head at HOMAG, what are your investment plans in the near future for India?
I think when I took over 4 years back, one of the clear visions we had at the group level was, how do we make HOMAG India be the, I would say, the critical point with respect to the business? How do we use the skill sets we have in India, the competencies we have in India to support the global needs? If you look at a group level, we have plans where we are going to invest almost close to 100 million euros in the next 3 years. Mostly working on increasing our capacities, as well as we have some challenges with respect to the logistics. So we are working on that, which will make us very efficient at a global level. The place where you're sitting on now, we actually built this facility last year and we moved in here. This is an endorsement that at a group level, we see India being a very major player in the group, both for the growth as well as cost competitiveness to help the group. If you look at from the industrial level, what are we doing? We are trying to work with multiple organizations to see how do we keep moving up the value chain. So that's something we are working with them. And if you look at internally from the organizational point, I think for us is very simple theory. We want to keep working on people. We want to keep working on the processes so that we become efficient and lean. And the most important thing, what we are trying to put it in our teams is the passion to actually feel proud and grow India. If you ask me, the other thing which we are working on is this industry has a huge challenge on the skills. We don't have skilled labor available in this industry. And that's something which is close to my heart too, as an individual. So we are very closely working with FFSC, which is driving this initiative across India. We are going to come up with a training center in a month's time in Hyderabad, working closely with FFSC. I am myself a governing council member at FFSC, where I'm working with the FFSC team to see how do we get this initiative going across India. Because it's a need of the industry, and being the market leaders, we also believe that it's our responsibility to actually contribute to the organization. So these are some of the things we are working at HOMAG India.
Lovely to know, Mr. Gorti. So when we speak about the Indian woodworking industry, we of course understand that the woodworking and the furniture market, they're completely two different, but of course they work parallelly. When we speak for the woodworking industry specifically, what is the level of adaptation for technology that you have noticed, that we see, and are there any changes in that domain? Can you elaborate a little bit about that?
It's a very good question, Sonakshi, because the way I look at it is, I think you are aware, but I can still repeat, that more than 80-90% of this industry is still pretty unorganized. And even when people want to get into having some machines, generally they prefer low-end machines. And that's how it has been. I think COVID somewhere started accelerating the need to get into automation and mechanization more and more. So I just joined before COVID. And what I have seen in the last couple of years post-COVID is the customers have started realizing that it's very important and critical that they start mechanizing. what processes they are doing, and automation. The second thing which we have also seen is the customers have started appreciating more technologies. They want more and more technologically advanced solutions. And the other thing which we have seen is with respect to the business enablers. So digital products have started playing a big role. And if I talk about HOMAG, we are one-stop solution for all the digital products, right from rendering till packing. We can actually give all the solutions which helps the businesses to really have the real-time information, which I personally believe real-time information is the only way you can take the right business decisions. And that's where I think the industry is moving, and HOMAG is pretty rightly placed with respect to how do we collaborate with the customers in this journey.
Right. A very significant, I will touch on a very significant topic. Sustainability is the talk of the hour, as we all know, and as we all understand. What role does sustainability really play in your journey at HOMAG? Or in fact, if I can extend that question to what role does it play in HOMAG's journey so far, given that there are environmental concerns not just in India, but globally? And we also understand why people are talking about sustainability, because it is the need of the hour. So would you like to elaborate to us and for our audience, how are you going to navigate around this subject?
For us at the HOMAG Group and a parent group, Dur Group, sustainability is non-negotiable. For every one of us as a part of the group, sustainability is here. Anything, everything revolves around sustainability. We are putting in a lot of efforts, and we have our internal goals and targets with respect to sustainability, where we want to act, and we have taken a very, I would say, aggressive target that by 2030, in the next 7 years, we want to reduce the ecological footprints in a big way. It's a commitment from the leadership, and every one of us keep working on it. How do we go about it? Let me put it, and let me explain to you more.
Sure.
We make energy efficient machineries. We want to see that unless we need, we should not even use even I would say small amount of additional powers to run the machines. We are working with the customers to see how do their productions become more and more sustainable. It's not just our manufacturing units, but how do we work with the customers? So sustainability for us is something we are very focused on, and everybody is working towards it. And one example I can give is Ligna, which happened like I think 5-6 weeks back, where we could actually set up our entire stalls where we use far more lesser material than what we have used in the past. But I'm sure that whoever attended the Ligna, they could not feel the difference. They still had the HOMAG experience, but with lot of less material, less resources. So we are 100% committed to that, Sonakshi.
So you are saying that HOMAG is committed to the subject of sustainability, but not just at a paper level, not just on paper, but also on ground. And that is what most companies globally are in fact doing. I would like to now ask you something about a success story. We always love to hear of success stories. So can you please share a success story of your client in India, which you would like to talk about, and something that will, of course, inspire our audience as well?
As you know, Sonakshi, we are here since 2 decades, and we have multiple customers whom we have made successful in their dreams or their businesses, just because we can actually help them through our consulting, through Schuler Consulting, or our technologically driven machines, or our digital products. But if you want to know any one name, let me take the recent one, which I felt very proud. So we have one of our customers, they are with us for many years. It's Nursi Group. And it's with a great sense of pride, I can tell you, and when I met Mr. Nursi too, that Nursi Group has actually built our new parliament, which you all would have seen.
Yeah.
And they are also building the G20 Convention Center. The best part about it is all the machines they use are HOMAG machines. So while the success for them, I would definitely give credit to their hard work, but I think somewhere we also contributed as HOMAG, partnering with them, and their support was always there for the last I would say, a couple of decades.
So the Narsi Group is one such success story for the HOMAG Group, and of course, professionally and personally to Mr. Gorti as well. Last couple of questions on this podcast, Mr. Gorti. I'd like to also sort of understand how can we not talk about wood shows if we're talking about all things wood. What are you planning to launch? What are you planning to show us in the upcoming India Wood shows?
I think exhibitions are something where every time HOMAG always will have something which is unique. If you ask me honestly, IndiaWood is a bit, I think it's still a bit away for me to really put my finger and say this is what we will do. But the way our product strategies are there and how we want to go, our go-to-market strategy, you can rest assured, Sonakshi, that it will be something which every customer or every visitor will be really impressed, whatever we are going to put there. So, and the other thing which I can tell you is it will definitely have a lot of flavor with respect to the digital solutions. That's for sure.
To the digital solutions. Again, a very important area of topic and concern, digital solutions. Mr. Gorti, India is a vast country. As we all know, it's an extremely diverse country. And how do you handle the after-sales service and support it in a vast country like ours?
I think when we are into capital goods, after-sales service is actually the most important thing. And HOMAG as a group and even HOMAG India, we take it that we need to focus a lot on that. So we invest a lot with respect to training our technicians, sending them to Germany. Then we have our own training center in Bangalore. So we always focus on how do we have enough trained technicians to support this entire country, which is so vast, as you mentioned. And we have close to now 4,500 to 5,000 install base of machines. So currently we have more than 50 plus service engineers spread across India who physically are going to the customer's place and helping. We also started trying to make it more easier for the customers. Like in the last couple of years, we have come up with a app which is actually called a Customer Connect app, where customers can log in, and then our back office here in Bangalore can help to solve their issues. We have come up with a helpline in the last 1 year, where customers can reach us and real time we can help them. Also, we have built our expertise here where the Asia Pacific region is completely supported out of Bangalore for all the countries in the Asia Pacific region, either for the software or digital products or for the equipment support. We are trying to keep making it more and more easier for the customers, how we can help them, because these capital goods are something where customers won't be keeping one backup. So how fast we actually resolve a customer complaint is something we are measuring internally in our organization. At my personal level, I review it every day. So for us, it's one of the most important parts of running a business. So I would say we are very committed to it and we'll continue to invest on that.
All right. With that, it brings us to the end of this podcast. But Mr. Gorti, I'd like to tell you that we don't like to leave a podcast or conclude a podcast without a message from the person we're interviewing, and which is why I'm going to ask you if you can leave us a message for Nuremberg Messe, because you are on the Nuremberg Messe podcast, if you can give us a message.
So I would say one thing, as you know, I'm here for 4 years, and in between COVID did not allow me to interact with Nuremberg Messe, but what you all are doing is absolutely great. If I come from the woodworking industry, because you are bringing in all the different players on the common platform, we get to chance to interact, and I think that's something which you all should be proud of. And I would wish you all good luck, and I'm hoping to see that we have more and more physical events and exhibitions and events where we from the industry get a chance to interact. So great job by all of you.
Thank you, Mr. Gorti. And like they say, there is no better feeling perhaps than to be in the world of exhibitions. It's a pleasure to speak to you, Mr. Gorti, on the Nuremberg Messe podcast. Thank you very much.